Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Temple Terrace City Council meeting of November the 16th. It's good to see everybody this evening. I'd like to remind you to please silence your electronic devices, including us. Let's just double check. Very good. If you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, we ask your blessings on our meeting tonight. We ask you to open our hearts and our minds that we may be thoughtful, fair, and compassionate. Help those of us in elected office to promote unity in our community and to set an example for others to follow. We thank you for another successful arts festival and for blessing us with all the wonderful people who made it happen. We thank you for our veterans, and we thank them for their many sacrifices in the cause of freedom. We ask all this as one people committed to the common good of all. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is approval of our minutes from November 2nd City Council meeting. Move to approve. Second. Motion and a second. Is there discussion of the minutes? Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. 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 Any opposed? No nays. The minutes are approved. Excuse me. Next item is persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We do ask people to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. We also ask that speakers come to the podium and state their name and city of residence. We'd like to assure everybody that their comments are taken seriously. The elected officials, the city manager, and the staff all take comments very seriously, and we do follow up on your concerns. So I currently have no requests to speak. Are there members of the public who wish to address the council? Okay, seeing none. Next order is for first public hearing and first reading of Ordinance 1518, approving the zoning reclassification. Oh, I'm sorry, that item has been, do we need to announce it? Okay. Okay, very good. Excuse me. First public hearing and first reading of Ordinance 1518, approving the zoning reclassification of 234 Bullard Parkway, otherwise known as RZP 21-02. We'll open the public hearing. Ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand for, well, let me just skip to City Planner Celeste Lau will explain.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Item RZP 21-02 had its first public hearing and reading on November 2nd. Due to the comments and concerns by both the public and council, the applicant requested council postpone the hearing to November 16th. However, after that meeting, both staff and the applicant felt like they needed a bit more time to prepare before coming back to council. So again, we are requesting that council make a motion and approve to postpone the first public hearing and reading for RZP 21-02 to December 7th. To allow the applicant some more time to prepare and address the comments and concerns made by council.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Lau. Council members, any questions for Lau?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, City Manager.
I don't know that we want to do this date certain again. There are certain things that the applicant's going to have to address, and I would feel a lot more comfortable giving them time rather than, again, set a date certain. So if we can just postpone it indefinitely, and then when they get their drawings together and all the comments addressed, then we can bring it back. This is a first reading anyway. It's not as if this is a second reading. So my suggestion would be to just postpone it, period, not date certain.
If I may, I know that the applicant's not here tonight, but I think when I spoke with them, they did want to postpone it to a date certain, so I don't know if.
Well, we could postpone it if they get their act together and they want to put it on the 7th. We can certainly get it on the next agenda for the 7th. But I don't want to continue doing a date certain and having issues that we need to continue to address. So when all those matters are addressed, then I suggest we put it on a regular agenda for a first reading like we always do. So,
Okay. City Attorney, any comments, or?
I would have to ask the clerk, this one would have to, if it was not set on a date certain.
Make
it
sure
will
you're,
have-
are you on your,
It would have to be re-advertised, so I'm asking the clerk then, how much lead time do you need in order to say,
They
get it
wanna-
on for the 7th?
If they want to come back on the 7th, the deadline was basically today to get the legal ad over to them.
Okay,
If they know they're going to be done by the 7th, I'd have to put another legal ad in and hope that it can go on the 7th, if we don't postpone it.
if it's postponed to the date certain, then we're just, again, it was once noticed for last time, we postponed to a date certain, we can postpone to a date certain again, we won't have to re-advertise. If it's just postponed, then finally when the date is determined, that would have to be advertised. And it seems that we've missed the deadline already to advertise for the 7th, so your choice is set it for the 7th, or it's probably not going to go on the 7th regardless of whether they're ready or not, because we will not have advertised in a timely manner. Today
So-
was the deadline.
maybe it's just me, but I'm now confused about what we are being asked to do. So so the 7th is off the table anyway?
No, no, it's not off the table if you specifically postpone to that date. If you just want to postpone, then, and they do want to get it on the 7th, they're not going to get it on the 7th because
Okay,
it's
but-
too late.
So what you're saying about it's already too late for the 7th, that would only
If we
mean
don't postpone it to a date certain.
if we, okay.
if you go date certain, the advertising is clean, and we can do it on the 7th.
Okay, so what happens if we postpone it to the 7th, date certain, but we're not,
Back and reopen the hearing and postpone it again.
If they're not ready,
if they're not ready?
if they're not ready.
But we've already spent the money to advertise it for the 7th,
We
Have it under the first ad.
under the first ad.
Okay.
I don't see this happening. You got Thanksgiving holiday coming up. They've got a lot of work.
You need your microphone. Mr.
Microphone,
Stevens,
Mr.
Mr.
Stevenson.
Stevenson, microphone.
I'm sorry. If they're willing to do that, I just don't want to continue to bring something back and postpone it because they're not able to get their program together. So,
Well, here's just my view, if I understand it correctly, and which is not a given, so straighten me out if I've got it wrong. It would seem to me that they want it on the 7th, they anticipate meeting that. We've already are covered for that date. If we leave it open, right, we may be unnecessarily delaying them because they may be ready for the 7th. And we're causing them unnecessary delay. So it seems to me the more prudent action would be to set it, and if they're not ready, we just do this exercise again, which will be much quicker the second time because we will have done it, practiced it tonight, so, right?
I would tend to agree with that. I would hate to be the reason for them to have a sale that doesn't happen before the end of the year. There might be some tax implications that would be unfairly burdened onto the buyer/seller by us pushing it back, and that would probably not be fair. And if it doesn't happen, we just open it and close it, and you have to come to another meeting, and that's about it. So, and you'll be here anyway in all likelihood. So.
Okay, and there's no monetary impact to us doing that because it's already.
I'm fine with that. I just
Yeah.
hate to continue bringing things
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
when
no, we
don't
hear what you're saying.
anticipate.
Yeah, I think we hear what you're saying, and I don't know if they'll be ready or not, or,
Having it on the date certain 12/7 be fine with me.
okay. Vice Mayor Donahue.
So I want to make sure I understand, because the next reading will actually be the first public hearing, they can make drastic changes, and that's okay.
Correct.
Okay, if it was the second reading, they couldn't do that.
They can make drastic changes that are requesting less than they asked before. If they're going to increase their request, then that's going to have to be advertised again.
Okay, that was the part that threw me.
I believe they're lessening their requests, so.
Okay. And I think that goes back to what Mr. Stevenson was trying to accomplish too, so. Okay, so it seems appropriate, if it's council's prerogative here, to postpone this to December 7th. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move to postpone the reading of Ordinance 1518 to a date certain of December 7th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. It is postponed to date certain. Next item is a second public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1519, adopting the zoning reclassification of Folio 201-634-0050, otherwise known as RZP 21-05. I'll open the public hearing and ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand for the oath administered by the city clerk.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good, thank you. City Attorney, would you poll the council for ex parte communication?
Yes, if any of you have received any ex parte communication regarding this item, please state what that was at this time. If it was a written communication, then please provide a copy of that to the clerk for the record. State what, to whom you spoke, what the sum and substance of the conversation was, and when this occurred.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I have had none.
I have had none.
I have had none.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. City Attorney, Senior Planner Gus Carpus will explain. Welcome, Mr. Carpus.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I've got a slideshow here as soon as it pops up. Okay, what we're looking at tonight is, again, the second reading and adoption hearing for Ordinance 1519, which is the zoning reclassification for the folio number of 201-634-0050. The property owner is Rural Financial Credit Union, and the applicant is Hillsborough County Habitat for Humanity. Again, the property is located in the downtown community redevelopment area. The little red circle on the left shows its general location within there. The current zoning of the property is commercial general. They're looking to rezone it to planned development. Any property that is rezoned within that area, that redevelopment district, needs to be rezoned to PD for any use. And the size of the parcel is 0.63 acres. So, and I just explained that any property that's rezoned needs to be rezoned to PD. What the applicant is looking to do at this point, once the property is rezoned, they would approach the city with a proposed plat to create single-family lots. And there is a conceptual site plan. You've seen this before at the last meeting, and there was some discussion about it. But again, it shows multiple single-family parcels. The exact parcels and exact number and lot dimensions and setbacks have not been determined at this point. This is just the rezoning. There can be discussion on that, and it's more clearly defined during the site plan also. And that's what's said on the bottom there. And then I do have a couple of elevations that would be proposed for the area. And the previous actions were taken where the DRC reviewed this, Development Review Committee, and had no issues with it. The Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission reviewed it and had no concerns about it, and the City Council itself adopted the first reading of Ordinance 1519 at their November 2nd meeting. And again, staff recommends approval of the second reading and adoption of the ordinance as written. I am here with any questions, and the applicant is also here.
Thank you, Mr. Carpus. I see our friends from Habitat are here. Would you like to make any comments tonight? Welcome.
Good evening. Thank
Good
you,
evening.
Mayor and Council. We're requesting your approval of the rezoning. We would plan to come back to you with a site plan, and again, we will work to make that favorable to you and look forward to that opportunity, but we're requesting approval of the rezoning tonight.
Good, thank you very much. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Mr. Pogorelic. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. David Pogorelic, 1534 North River Hills Drive. I'm here tonight to suggest to you that you put a pause on all this. You know, the previous one was removed, but I know all you're doing tonight is approving the zoning. But there was some discussion about the number of lots on this particular piece of property last time, and there was some hesitation by Habitat when, I think it was Gil mentioned, what if you go down to 5? We don't need 6 postage stamp lots on that particular piece of property. And all I'm asking you is put it on pause, at least until after your workshop. It would not be unusual. City of Tampa and Pasco County have both put moratoriums on certain types of construction, and Pasco County has just extended their multifamily moratorium. It just, this particular six houses on that piece of property, just, you're gonna have 12-foot frontages on those houses. It's not something that we want on one of our gateways into our city. And again, I just think that putting a pause on this until after at least after your workshop, when you have a chance to sit down and discuss what we want for our city. Not sure, Habitat's great. I've volunteered dozens and dozens and dozens of hours for them. It's nothing against Habitat, it's just not sure having 6 houses on 0.63 acres is what we want for our city. Thank you.
Are there other members of the public? Please come forward. Mrs. Tumbleson? Gus, we still have some people. Welcome, Mrs. Tumbleson.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay, Jan Tumbleson, 208 Holland Avenue. Okay, I was just looking at the proposed plat that they're going to have to redo. We're looking at a lot width of 39 feet. And the depth of the houses, the depth of the property exceed, okay, let's see. The depth of the property is from 150 to almost 200 feet. Okay, I am with, I would like y'all to postpone to after the workshop. I think that would be best. And that way you will have a better understanding about what's going on. Okay, I think that we should make this idea for the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Tumbleson. Other members of the public, Mr. Ritter. Good evening, sir.
Jack Ritter, 227 Willowwick Avenue. I think we need to change our land development code. We need bigger lots. We need bigger houses. What we're trying to do is pack everything in here. It helps the ad valorem, I understand, but that's not what we need in Temple Terrace. We've made accommodations to developers out on Temple Terrace Highway, 241 houses on 36 acres. That's crazy. We're gonna have a stick ghetto in 10 years out there. 5-foot side yard setbacks. You're gonna have neighbor on neighbor. I think it's tragic. Change the land development code, bigger properties, bigger houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Other members of the public? Seeing none, would the applicant like to respond to any? You don't have to, but if you'd like to make any additional comments, I'd certainly invite you up.
I guess just one note, the proposal that we had presented was five homes on the acreage, not 6. So, but the other comment is correct. We do plan to propose 39-foot lots, and we will, of course, be subject to your review either now or at that time with those lots that we'd like to present. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions of Mr. Carpus or the applicant?
I have a question about, in general,
Councilmember Donahue.
what are what are the lot sizes? Do we have, is everybody's lot in Temple Terrace 50 plus, or do we have I mean, there's a neighborhood out on the other side of Morris Bridge. Those seem to be a little bit smaller lots. Do you know the size of those, or?
Well, typically, obviously, the lot width is based on the zoning district, but there are planned developments that are approved with different lot widths. I think the most recent had 50-foot wide lots and similar setbacks. I don't know if it's 5 foot or 7. There was a project that Ms. Lau brought through on the most recent with D.R. Horton. So, yeah, our zoning district says one thing. Most of the developers come in through a planned development and ask for something else. So the Habitat for Humanity is really no different than what anybody else has done in the past. Lots just vary in size, and that's where the council reviews and makes a decision if it's something that they want.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Chambers.
The project up on, well, I think it may be, Silvio Palms. What's the lot size there? Do you know?
Those were those not 40 feet also?
Sagebrush?
No, Silvio Ponds.
Oh, Sylvia Palms are 40 feet,
Yes.
Sagebrush is also.
Yeah, so these lots are similar to the ones that were approved at Silvio Ponds.
Thank you.
Other questions? I have one, just clarification for everybody, us and the public also. What we're doing tonight is simply approving the rezoning request, and the plating and the site plan will come back before us at a future date.
That's correct, sir.
Unlike the situation we had recently where everything was kind of rolled into one, this one is actually,
This is just the rezoning, and that's why I kept pointing out it's a conceptual plan that you're looking at. It needs to be platted, it needs to still have a site plan review. So you got another couple of chances to look at this and shape it how you want to see it.
okay. And a question, just a clarification from the city attorney. Make sure that everybody understands this correctly. When a zoning request is made, there's a presumption of approval unless there's a specific legal reason to deny it. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Other questions? Oh, Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. I asked this question last time. Has consideration been given to making it 4? 4 would roughly give it 49 feet width lots. Has any discussion, I'm not asking to commit to it, but has any discussion been made to it? I mean, it's not fair if you're expecting 5 and you come back when you're replotting and we say, no, we really want to keep it at 4, that could really crimp your model. Has any consideration been made by your staff to that calculation?
Yes, we will certainly request 5, and we will attempt to make a compelling argument for 5, and we will be at the pleasure of your decision.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
If they were to approach the council with 5 and the council denies it, is there a period of time that they need to wait before they can reapply then for a site plan? Is that 180 days again? My concern is the council shouldn't be given an either-or application. If they commit to an application and the council takes action on it, and if it's in this case 5 lots and it's something the council doesn't want and you deny it, they then have to wait a certain period of time before they can reapply. They can ask for a reconsideration, but again, if that doesn't pass, then they need to wait a certain period of time before they can reapply. And that's why I want to make sure that the applicant understands where the council is standing on this number of lots or the lot width. I mean, is the 39-foot width, just not going to do it for the council? Well, then they need to really think when they design their site plan that they're willing to come back with the site plan.
Well, Mr. Carpus, let me just comment on that because I feel like this is deja vu. And so what we have before us is a request to rezone. And there really shouldn't be any presumption that this council is going to approve the site plan that we haven't seen.
Correct.
I think that we have made it clear to the applicant that there's at least some discussion to be had over the number of residents on the property. We haven't had the discussion because, truthfully, to be fair, I don't know what compelling argument they are prepared to present because we're not there yet. But I do think that they should be cautioned that just because the rezoning, if in fact it's approved tonight, does not necessarily mean that we're approving a future site plan that none of us have seen, including you. So I think the applicant would like to.
I just want to say, yes, I understand, want to say on the record.
I thought you did, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I was just trying to caution the applicant too, to pay attention to what the council is saying.
is my assessment correct of,
Yes, as long as the ordinance is drafted does not include, when we were here before, when we said déjà vu, yes, we talked about a similar thing on another item once. And that particular ordinance actually included the approval for the things they were asking. This one, as long as it's just zoning and it's not contingent on anything and does not include anything extra, then
Right.
it's fine.
okay. See, in my mind, we don't have any compelling reason to deny their rezoning request, but we may have some discussion about the site plan. Okay,
Which we haven't seen.
which we're not there yet, right? Okay,
Right.
very good. Anything else, council members, before I close the public hearing? Good, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning .63 ± acres of unaddressed real property north of East Bush Boulevard, west of Overlook Drive, and east of North 52nd Street, within the downtown redevelopment area from zoning classification commercial general to planned development, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
Move to approve ordinance 1519, adopting the zoning reclassification.
I second that motion.
Motion for approval of second reading and a second of that. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on second reading. Good, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the second public reading and second public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1517 regarding section 12-40, Article 6 and Article 9, TXT 21-01, Land Development Code Text Amendment. I'll open the public hearing. City Planner Celeste Lau will explain. Welcome, Ms. Lau.
Good evening again, mayors and city council member. All right, just gonna wait. So the item I'm presenting tonight is TXT 21-01, which is a land development code text amendment for floodplain regulations. The first public hearing and reading was held on November 2nd. Tonight is the second public hearing and reading. So the three sections that the amendment requests are going to affect in the Land Development Code are Section 12-40 definitions, Article 6 variances, Article 9 design standards and development criteria with the focus on floodplain management regulations. The first section, Section 12-40 definitions, the amendment request amends the definition for accessory structures and manufactured homes. In Article 6 variances, Section 12-158 is amended by removing the floodplain protection regulation text. And again, the reason why we are removing that text is because in Section 12-563, they already have these floodplain protection regulations. So we're removing them to prevent duplication. Article 9, Design Standards and Development Criteria. The amendment request amends the regulations for accessory structures and manufactured homes within flood hazard areas. And again, the two reasons for these amendment requests is one, to be consistent with FEMA policies, and the second is to maintain the city's community rating system, or CRS rating. On October 4th, the Planning Commission found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan. City staff recommends that council approve the ordinance for TXT 21-01. That concludes staff presentation. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lau. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, you have questions for Ms. Lau?
I have none.
Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you, and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace relating to floodplain management, amending the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12 of the Land Development Code, Section 12-40 Definitions, Article 6 entitled Variances, and Article 9, Division 3 entitled Floodplain Management, to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas and to specify elevation of manufactured homes in flood hazard areas, providing for applicability and severability, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the second public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1517 regarding section 12-40.
Second.
Motion seconded by Councilmember Abel. Is there any comments, discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance is adopted on second reading. Thank you, Ms. Lau. Next item is a resolution approving the purchase of replacement desktop and laptop computers. IT Director Sally Cabrera will explain. Welcome, Ms. Cabrera.
Hello. Hello, Mayor, City Council. A resolution of the City Council is requested approving the purchase of 5 Dell XPS 15 laptops, 1 Dell Precision laptop, 6 docking stations, and 8 Optiplex 3090 desktop computers in the amount of $27,284.60 from our vendor VTech.io to replace current outdated computers. Payment will be provided from account number 001-1121-513.52-23, and the quote is based on current Florida State Contract Number 4321500, WSCA 15-ACS.
Thank you, Mrs. Cabrera. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions?
It says 2017.
I have a quick question. What, and I probably have asked this before and forgotten the answer, but what do we do? Do we get a trade-in value for the old stuff? What do we do with our old stuff?
We e-recycle it. We have a company that comes and picks it up and e-recycles it for free, but we do not trade it in for any monetary value.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. The resolution is adopted. Thank you. Next item is a resolution approving the purchase of computer server replacement for city applications. IT Director Sally Cabrera will explain.
A resolution of the City Council is requested approving the purchase of 2 Dell PowerEdge R650 servers and 1 Dell EMC ME4024 storage array and associated operating systems for all city applications in the amount of $51,760.91 from our vendor VTech.io to replace current outdated servers. Payment to be provided from funds from account number 001-1121-513.64-23. The quote is based on current state of Florida contract number 432-150-WSCA-15-ACS. I will tell you, we originally budgeted $50,000 for this computer in our IT capital fund, and we have submitted a budget adjustment request from another IT fund for the additional $1,760.90 to accounting, so that they can do that with that budget adjustment within our budget, our accounts. The initial servers that were quoted while we were doing the budget process are no longer manufactured, so we had to go with a different model, which is slightly increased in price. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Is that $1,700 going to have an impact in another area of your operations?
No, it is not.
Thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council member questions? I have one. City clerk and I were having a conversation the other day that involved servers. Is this purchase going to rectify, solve that problem?
It will help when we do finally get them. We have to order the servers now, but we will not receive them until March because of supply and demand. And the issue that we are currently having can be rectified before that, obviously.
Okay.
That will be resolved soon.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve a resolution approving the purchase of computer server replacement for city applications.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Next item is a resolution approving the purchase of computer server replacement for police applications.
Yes.
IT Director Sally Cabrera will explain. You're spending a lot of money tonight.
You notice they go up every time.
We are requesting approving the purchase of 2 Dell PowerEdge R650 servers, 1 Dell PowerEdge R750 server, and 1 Dell EMC ME424 storage expansion enclosure and associated operating systems for police applications in the amount of $74,196.84 from VTech.io to replace current outdated servers. Payment to be provided with funds from account number 160-1411521.64-23. And the quote is based on Florida State Contract 4321500-WSCA-15-ACS. Now, I will tell you, the initial resolution had an incorrect account number that was given to me by the finance department, but that has since been corrected prior to this meeting. So I do want to state that.
Good. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Shopping early.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Or you have to move approval, not ask for,
Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, move to approve the resolution for the purchase of the police server equipment.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mrs. Ferrer. Next item on the agenda, speaking of spending money, is a resolution approving the purchase of a 2021 crane carrier front loader. Public Works Director of Operations Ray LeBlanc will explain. Mr. LeBlanc, you don't ask for much, but when you do, it always costs a lot.
This is highly anticipated in a long time.
Yes, sir, I know.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Staff is recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the purchase of a 2021 crane carrier front loader in the amount of $278,131. Fiscal year 2021-22 budget includes funds for the replacement of a 2005 Mack front loader sanitation vehicle. We've researched local bids awards and concluded the most cost-effective method is to purchase a 2021 low-entry chassis with an Easy Pack front loader body in the amount of $278,131 through the Florida Sheriff's Association bid FSA-VEH 18.0. The vehicle would be purchased from Container Systems and Equipment of Daytona Beach, Florida. Funds for this purchase have been allocated in account number 480-2031-534-6412. The 2005 Mack front loader will be sold through a vehicle auction process the same manner as other vehicles. Staff is highly recommending we do adopt this resolution.
Highly recommended.
Highly.
Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions?
No.
This is a 16-year-old truck?
It has an excess of 300,000 miles on it, and that's thanks to Eddie Davis and our fleet department and the entire staff. It's still out there working.
Quite an accomplishment to keep a piece of
Standard is-
equipment of that nature.
Standard is a 7-year.
Yeah, I know, so
It's well kept, but it's time to say goodbye.
that's a testament to our city staff that we have been able to keep that
That's
truck.
incredible.
Yeah, that really is, so.
Out there today.
Very good. Council members, if there are no questions, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the resolution approving the purchase of a 2021 crane carrier front loader.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
LeBlanc. Next item is resolution approving the IAFF three-year collective bargaining agreement. Fire Chief Ian Kemp will explain. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, Honorable Mayor, Council, Ian Kemp, your Fire Chief. The city and the IAFF negotiating teams tentatively agreed to a three-year collective bargaining agreement at our last meeting in October. The IAFF union membership voted in support of ratifying this agreement on November 5th, 2021. The proposed contract falls within the parameters and direction given by your city manager. The agreement includes cost of living raises in each of the following years. 2021, a 2% COLA, 2022, 2% COLA, and 2023, a 3% cost of living allowance. The contract also includes changing the title of 9 engineers to the classification of lieutenant. This classification change includes 4% raises for those individuals in 2022 and a 4% raise in 2023 for those positions. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the three-year collective bargaining agreement with the IAFF Local 3582. This agreement will be effective from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2024.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, any questions? Good. Is there a motion to approve?
There is. I move to approve the IAFF three-year collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Motion seconded by Councilmember Schisler. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you allow me, I know David Burton, the president of IAFF 3582, representing our firefighters, just wanted to say a few words.
Sure. Absolutely. Welcome.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for allowing me to I wanted to thank our fire chief and thank the city manager. Both sides worked very hard on this, and we come to an agreement, and I appreciate you guys ratifying that this evening. And I can speak for my entire membership when I say we're very excited about everything going on in the city, and we look forward to continuing to provide that excellent service that you're used to. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. A word of gratitude to the city manager is appropriate too. I know that there's been a lot of hard work by everybody involved in this, so thank you for your efforts, and Chief and the union for all that. So, next item is a resolution approving fiscal year 21-22 interlocal agreement for distribution of enhanced 911 emergency telephone service fee revenues. Police Chief Ken Albano will explain. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council. Ken Albano, your police chief. Before you this evening for your consideration and approval is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with Hillsborough County for the distribution of enhanced 911 emergency telephone service fee revenues. The Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners requests execution of the attached interlocal agreement whereby $122,015 of the overall budgeted appropriations from the enhanced 911 emergency telephone service fee funds may be dispersed to the city of Temple Terrace. These funds may only be used by the city for the salaries, education, and training of our 911 call takers and for other authorized expenses as described in Florida Statute 365.172 subsection 10. Upon your approval and the acceptance of the aforementioned $122,015, $62,100 shall be designated as non-additional expenditures from account number 001-440-521.12-11 using project code 911 for authorized 911 personnel salaries. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the 2021-22 interlocal agreement with Hillsborough County and the City of Temple Terrace regarding the distribution of these enhanced 911 emergency telephone service fee revenues. It is further recommended that City Council approve the intended use of the designated funds as previously described and toward other authorized expenditures as described within Florida Statute 365.172.10. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, are there questions of Chief Albano? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve a resolution approving fiscal year 2021-2022 interlocal agreement for distribution of enhanced 911 emergency telephone service fee revenues.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution's adopted. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Is there any other carryover council business from previous meetings? Seeing none, new business and board reports. I know Councilmember Chambers has some things to report.
I do. I have two. Thank you, Mayor. I want to give out some thanks as a council member, but also wearing the hat as a arts council member. But thank you to all the city staff that participated in the Arts Festival this past weekend. It was a great weekend, other than a little bit of rain in the afternoon on Saturday, but we got through that. Sunday was fantastic. We had a full complement of 125 artists and fine crafters. We gave away a good amount of prize money. I know a lot of people bought art items. It was great, but also I really do want to call attention to our city staff, and they're great people. And starting with Leisure Services, it's hard for me to say that how they can, after their performance many times, to go over and above, but they went over and above. And it's just fantastic that we have that much staff dedicated to the citizens of Temple Terrace. I also want to thank the police department for the officers they had. They were great, Chief. They did a super job, especially in the rodeo that we call loading up on Sunday afternoon. They did a great job with the artists. Lori Hayes, thank you very much for being out there and taking pictures, but also all the publicity that was done in advance for the Arts Festival. I really want to thank you for that. And sanitation, there was a bunch of garbage Sunday night. Thank you for you guys getting it cleaned up. Monday morning, the park looked like no one was ever in it, so thank you very much for all that. So that's the Arts Festival. And I also want to thank Vice Mayor, who was not acting in her capacity as Vice Mayor, but Sherry, thank you for, the Arts Festival has different things. She is in charge of the Arts Festival with the Arts Council, so it was not just her event, but she was the head of the Arts Festival event, so thank you for your hard work.
You're welcome.
Okay, the second thing I have, Leisure Services is sponsoring the Winter Wonderland event, and it's on Saturday, December 4th. And it's going to start with the golf cart parade, which we used to just, I say we like I'm still there, I'm sorry. They do around the golf course, but this past year, since Winter Wonderland wasn't there, it started at the Recreation Center and went through the city. They're going to incorporate both events. So the golf cart parade will be at 6 o'clock, Saturday, December 4th, from the Family Recreation Complex. Staging is at 5 o'clock, so come on out. You can register your golf cart for the parade at the Family Recreation Complex. There is a fee for that, but that fee solely goes towards your 2022 golf cart decal, so you can get that also. The parade will go through the city and end at the first fairway of the Golf and Country Club in Woodmont Park, where the children will be set up, and Santa will be on the last golf cart and go into the park. There will be Winter Wonderland. That event at Woodmont will be from 5:30 till 8:30, and that will include an ice slide, caroling in the park, food trucks, carnival games. The holiday tree lighting, Christmas tree lighting will be at 7 p.m. and visits with Santa will start at 7:05 when the parade ends. So it will be a fantastic event. Just like the Arts Festival, I think Vice Mayor Donahue's guaranteeing great weather.
I guarantee it.
There you go.
It'll be cold.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun. Contact the Leisure Services Department. It'll be a fun night.
Thank you, Councilmember Chambers. Did you have, I thought you had something.
I did, but I didn't get it in time from Hart, but I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Next meeting, okay.
Next meeting.
Councilmember Abel.
I have something from the Affordable Housing Board. They have a program that they announced at the last meeting that is owner-occupied rehabilitation or demolition or rebuild. And that's for people living in Temple Terrace or anywhere in the county whose gross income is less than 80% AMI. And they have some criteria, but the idea is it helps people rehab their houses that are falling into disrepair. So I'll forward that information along to make sure that we have access to that. I have another one too from the affordable, sorry, not switching boards now.
Can I ask a question
Yes.
before you move on
Yes,
about
please.
that? Could you, is there any material that you can also share with us so that we know, I'd like to know more about that as well.
Absolutely. I'll send it all to the clerk and she can.
Okay, good, thank you.
And second, from the Riverwatch Task Force, we had a meeting yesterday, and my understanding is that in the past, they used to sponsor cleanups, and they're interested in doing that again. And I wanted to run that by council to see what your take on that was, and see if we can get something like that put forward, because that's what they're interested in doing. Because they found at the Arts Fest, many people were very interested. They came to their table, and they wanted to do something to help the quality of the river. Prior to this meeting, I spoke to the city manager about it. He said that he doesn't see a problem with having a cleanup by the Riverwatch Task Force, but I wanted to make sure we talked about it publicly.
Yeah, I just have a comment about that. The Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, they have, all of that is set up. They have they have a way of orchestrating that. So I think they should reach out to them and find out, because rather than reinventing the wheel, they would get somebody who already has the materials and the thing, and a good way to get people involved. So
Agreed. And
yeah.
we had that conversation, and they were a little less inclined to go with that, but I'll definitely request its consideration again.
Okay, just glad to know they're interested.
No, personally, I think it's a great idea. We've done it before, but as the vice mayor said, there are benefits to doing it in conjunction with them. I mean, they bring swag out, shirts,
Yeah.
provide the bags. They can help put the structure together. But, I mean, I don't think any of us are opposed to cleaning up the river. If they don't want to do it with Tampa Bay Beautiful, do it, I think it's great. And I think most of us would be happy to participate if we can, so sure.
Okay,
Any,
that's all.
any further comment on that?
No, not at all.
Great idea. We don't really have public comment during new business, do we?
No, but you are in charge of the meetings.
I hesitate to do that, though, because this is pretty benign. But at the next meeting, it might not be so benign.
That's
And next we
right.
get drawn into public comment at new business, I'm afraid that we've opened that door, so I'm gonna have to say
Hang tight.
no, yeah, okay.
I do. I do.
The next time, it might be a hot potato, and then we got nothing but public comment for new business, and it goes on for 45 minutes, and so, anyway.
It's your meeting.
Benign thing to say.
Okay, well, are you
I am.
good, Councilmember Abel?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor,
So Thursday is the Great American Teach-In, and for a couple years now, I've been teaching recycling. Of course, this year, we're not recycling glass, so thanks to Public Works, I went over today, and they gave me a nice stack of new and improved information so that I can take it to the kids. It is fun to talk about recycling because they all have an opinion about the way to do it. And what I've found over the years is that the ones who are the most surprised about what can't be recycled are the teachers. So I feel like I'm teaching first, third, and fourth. So I don't know how the fifth graders, second graders got left out, but I guess I'll get them next year. So anyway, if anybody is still interested in volunteering, call your local school and let them know that you would like to participate, and I'm sure they'll let you come in and talk about your hobby or something you know or whatever. So thank you to Ray for providing me with the materials.
Is that this Thursday?
This Thursday.
It's not, okay, normally it's the last one before Thanksgiving. They did it.
Well,
differently
in
this
this
year.
case, they will be out of school next week.
Oh, it's.
So this is the last Thursday.
This is the
Yeah.
third Thursday.
Having trouble with calendars.
But you're right, it is, yeah, yeah.
very good. Any other new business? Good, city manager, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't have a report, but I do have a request, if I may. At our last meeting, we had a presentation from the golf course, and one of their objectives moving forward is to start getting rid of some of the dead trees that are on site. We really have never budgeted anything to do that, although I know that we do have some available funds that we could help with the removal and replacement of trees. Those funds, however, are tied up in the Adopt-a-Tree program that very specifically limits us to spending those funds on replacement trees. It does not specify removing trees. But with council's approval, I would love to tweak that ordinance that we created years ago to be able to do this on public land so that we can kind of not only help the golf course, but also address some of the dead trees that we find in our own right-of-way. And we do have the funds, but we're really restricted because of the way the ordinance reads. So with council's permission, I'd love to be able to tweak this ordinance so that it would allow us to remove dead trees and replace using these funds. So love to have some feedback on that. This is something that we can certainly help the golf course out. We have secured about 3 bids, and we're looking at anywhere from about $40,000 to $80,000 with those 3 bids in order to take down 90-some trees, I believe.
A little over 100, yeah.
100 trees.
A little over 100.
Pretty good bid.
Again, with council's permission, I mean, we can certainly tweak our ordinance. We can make it very specific, and we certainly have some ideas. But I don't want to go start messing with the ordinance if this is not something that council would entertain. So,
And will you bring that back to us when?
Well, hang on a second. So the first step in this would be for us to give you work direction to create draft revisions, correct?
yes.
And then the second step would be, we would have 2 public hearings to adopt the revised ordinance. Is that?
Yeah, I believe it is not a land development ordinance. It may only have to go through 1 reading,
Well, the lien
but
reduction
that's not a
is
conversation.
I would want to look at the minutes at which that ordinance was adopted to see why did we restrict it, and if there was anything else, that went into creating that, and make sure that we're not limited in any way. I mean, generally, if we create a law, we can change the law, but I want to see what the background was for that particular ordinance. But it could possibly be done on 1 reading, so.
Vice Mayor?
So that was just my question, how, I was gonna ask you, how long does this process take for us to see what you've come up with and then announce it to the public and vote on it?
Takes as long as how fast we can work on it, so that's all. The city manager's office and the legal department gets together and we all start working on it. I think we could do it really quickly, so. And I'll look to the clerk to find us the minutes, so.
Councilmember Chambers?
I would like to make a motion to authorize staff to.
Can we have a little discussion prior to the motion? If there's any, let me just see if there's any discussion.
I have no discussion.
Is there any discussion to have before the? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh,
Well, I think we at least need to look at the ordinance. What are the possibilities? What can be done, if anything at all? What needs, and decide if we need to do something. So I think that at the very least, the city, they can at least start looking at the ordinance, and if there's something that can be done, bring it back. We still have two meetings to, up to 2 meetings to mitigate it.
Okay, my motion is exactly that, to authorize staff to start looking at the ordinance and provide us with any details on changing that if that's their recommendation.
there's a motion, is there
I'll
a second?
second the motion.
Motion is second. Any discussion on the motion? Just have, just one comment for clarity. What we're doing here tonight is only authorizing staff to review this ordinance and look at the possibility of making revisions that would include being able to use some of these funds for tree management on public lands.
Exactly.
Correct.
We are not, at this point, having a discussion about the golf course or what we're going to do or not to do, or that's a separate thing. And so it's not implied by this motion that we're gonna take further action. It's kind of like this is separate, right?
Endorsement.
Okay. Further discussion, comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays?
I mean,
Sufficient?
we had we had dead trees on 56th Street
Right.
recently, so it
We voted.
This would apply not only to the golf course, but we have a bunch of trees that are fixing to need removal.
Understood. Well, we voted, so you've got the,
But I appreciate that. We'll get to work on something, and Legal and I spoke briefly about it this morning, but I don't want to spend a lot of time unless council was interested in doing this, so, thank you.
anything else? That's it?
No, sir, that's it.
City Attorney?
I have two things. One of them, it was items that had come up in the past that I said that we would look into. One of them was the item that had been brought up by Councilwoman Abel concerning the county's ordinance adopting a tenant's bill of rights, I'll call it. I think it was actually titled something else, but that's kind of what it is. And I did some more, a little bit more research on it. I spoke to the attorney for the county to find out what they had done and how it was going. Their ordinance that they adopted only applies to the unincorporated county. It does not apply to us because they specifically adopted it to apply only to them. Tampa is looking into possibly adopting it, but seems that they are going to be making some changes to it and not adopting it as it was by the county. There are a number of parts to it. Apparently, the most controversial part was that there would not be any discrimination against tenants or potential tenants based on their source of income. That seems to be one of two parts that is not included in Florida law. Much of what is in there is already included in Florida statutes, but also the purpose of the county's ordinance was to have landlords make the tenants aware that their rights, that they have certain rights, and the rights are in the Florida statutes. So it sort of leads the tenant to look up their rights in Florida law. However, it does add that they cannot be discriminated against based on their source of income, such as maybe their income is only from child support. And that would be something that maybe a landlord in the past or present is saying, oh, that doesn't sound sufficient to me. I don't want to rent to you because that's where your income is from. They would not be able to do that if we adopted that same ordinance. What they also did is they appointed a particular they assigned one code enforcement officer to do some education about this over the summer, and the officer went to the different apartment complexes to let them know about this ordinance. I think that if we did adopt it, certainly we would have to do some education about this before we cited someone under this and make sure that everybody was aware of it. So far, the county has not done they haven't had any cases yet. So she was not certain whether there had just been no violations discovered or just that they had not yet prosecuted anything. But there has been no actual enforcement of it at this time. There was one other part to this that is not in Florida law, and it required landlords to give a separate notice before imposing a late payment penalty. Generally, that's included in most leases, tells you if you're going to be late, there's going to be a penalty. But the county's ordinance says that just having it in the lease is not all you need to do. that before you impose the penalty on someone, you essentially need to give them the bill or an invoice or a notice of some sort that you are now going to be charged a late fee. Also, if we were interested in adopting this, we could adopt a modified version as well. We don't have to just adopt the county's blanket the way it's written. Obviously, this would take some discussion and some dissection to decide whether we want to adopt it completely as they have it. But the county's attorney said that they are looking at maybe tweaking theirs once if Tampa does adopt theirs. So then maybe there could be a little more uniformity. They've also found maybe a few little glitches in theirs, and theirs may change also in the future. So I don't know. I know the county, I think, spoke to them too, so you may have some more information.
Well, I had a question for you, actually.
Okay.
And that is, did they give you any sort of timeline for when they expected to do the tweaks to their ordinance?
No, I think they were waiting to see what Tampa does with theirs and whether Tampa adopts it at all, and if they do adopt it, what parts of it they're going to, take on.
And to council, I think having a tenant bill of rights is a really good idea. However, I think there are a couple of pieces of this that might not be quite the right thing for us. A couple of things in particular that the city attorney mentioned, such as, well, she didn't mention this one, but there's a penalty to landlords if they don't properly notify their tenants. That's really high. It's like $500. And who would enforce that? That's a big question. And another one is that she did mention that not having the late fee notice just in the lease isn't enough, that they'd also have to have some other notification when that comes up, which seems a little bit excessive. So I'd like to hear what you all think about this, but I kind of like the idea of waiting to see how the county modifies it and then looking at it from there and seeing if we'd be willing to take on what they do or come up with something that suits us better. But protecting the rights of tenants and making sure they know the education piece of what their rights are, I think is very important, especially with the conditions we have now with renting. That's all.
I agree.
Council members, discussion?
I mean, I had no problem waiting to see. I just am fearful of having to create our own enforcement issues, and that's more either on existing staff or additional staff to police, and there still has to be in place, irrespective of whether there's been any complaints or any claims at this point. I don't know how we do that. I would agree. Let's wait and see. Let's see, how long it takes them to make any modifications. But I sure don't want to reinvent the wheel or do something that's already covered by state statute. If there's specific issues, maybe we look at it. Who enforces it? Code enforcement? I don't know.
Well, my question is, who enforces it now? If it's a state statute, it's something that we have to.
Those would go to court. I mean, and it's up to a tenant to enforce their own rights by taking it to court. And a lot of landlord-tenant issues are heard in county court to make it a simpler process for a tenant to utilize. But it works both ways. If landlord wants to evict somebody, that's where they go to county court. So.
I will tell you, I always try to keep an open mind until I hear everything about something and try not to rush to conclusions on something. But so far, what I've heard about this, which has been several months now, because I've had some conversations, this was very informative tonight, but I haven't yet heard anything in here that really makes me want to do this. First of all, most of these rights, the landlord-tenant law in Florida is very protective of tenants as it is. It's a very liberally written law. Landlords have tenants have a lot of rights and protections under state statute already. The two provisions of this that go beyond state law, at least as they're drafted now, they seem to me to be potentially problematic. We would have to establish an enforcement mechanism, which would be code enforcement, but presumably now we're branching off. That means, I don't know that they could take this on. I don't know how many complaints they get. When we also have to have a hearing officer mechanism for people that are charged under this, which is another hearing process, which is, I mean, all the tentacles that go out from this means that the city clerk now has to take minutes for another hearing officer. Our legal department has to represent the city in these proceedings. Our AV tech has to be here. You know, all these tentacles, they're unforeseen consequences. To use an old saying, is the candle worth the game? I mean, how big is this problem in our city that we've never even heard of it until the county brought it to our attention? I don't know. Maybe we're not hearing it because the complaints are going to other places. I don't know. But I haven't heard anything yet that's made me think that this is something we necessarily need to pursue. I'm still open if there's something, you know, in the future changes or whatever, but as of right now, I would have a hard time supporting moving this forward based on what we know.
Well, but that's why Councilwoman Abel says, let's wait and see what the county comes up with. They may, after they really look at it, they may say, we're good. We're covered by the state, and just let it go.
You think they're gonna discover that at this point?
Well, they're still looking at it.
Well, they've
all
already
this
passed
time.
one.
They've already passed it.
Passed their version.
And Tampa.
But Tampa,
Tampa's looking at it.
I'm just,
Yeah.
well, Tampa would be more like us in that a city taking it on. Yeah. So I don't have any reason, there's nothing for us to do at this point.
No.
So keep,
No, I think you were just taking the temperature of the room is what, you know.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not slamming the door on anything. I mean, things change and, you know, I'm always open to whatever happens, but if we were asked right now, I would say I wouldn't be in favor of it, but,
But we don't have the mechanism, which is why.
yeah, there's a lot of,
Exactly.
does that provide what you're looking for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Maybe not, but not what you were hoping for, but what you're looking for?
I got the temperature.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
My second thing tonight is that we did take a look at the noise ordinance, and we looked at St. Petersburg's noise ordinance, we looked at Tampa's noise ordinance, and the interesting thing about Tampa's noise ordinance is that they were just in the process of changing their noise ordinance. So they actually, and one of the things they were changing is they were taking out the provision to give a warning. They're just going right into issuing the citation and you don't get a warning. So I think it was mostly applying to entertainment type venues, but I thought that was interesting that they took out the warning portion. There are a number of tweaks that I think that we could make to our noise ordinance to make it actually easier to enforce. Also maybe quiet things down a little bit within residential communities. One of the things that Tampa had that I did like is that it actually said what prima facie evidence of unreasonably loud and raucous would be, because our ordinance is based on being loud and raucous, and that was determined to be a sufficient standard by the court quite some time ago, but still it's hard to prove what is loud and raucous. So it used measurements, and what there says is between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., it shall be prima facie evidence that the sound, whether recurrent, intermittent, or continuous, is unreasonably loud and raucous if the sound is plainly audible a minimum of 100 feet from the property line of the source of the sound at or within any receiving property. We can make it 100 feet. They also have, St. Pete's got other standards that are 25 feet depending on the time of the day, or it's 100 feet at other times of the day. But I've always felt that any time you have a measurement of time or distance, it's much easier for someone to take that measurement and present that case. When you just have loud and raucous or unreasonably loud and raucous, what does that mean? So I think that if we, and I would talk to the city manager certainly about this to see should changes be made. Right now, we are allowing amplified sound on any day of the week between I believe it's 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. We may want to require that things be a little quieter on a Sunday night in a residential zone. Maybe not, but this would be something that I think that, there's room for discussion here, and we could come up with something to present that would maybe give some relief. One of the things that I think might be worth adding is that it's a violation if you have audible sound a certain number of feet from the source and nobody's home, so that someone is not able to just turn on their radio or stereo full blast and leave. So, if you don't answer the door, I guess you can say it's too loud, I didn't hear the police knocking at the door, but if that's the case, then that's probably a good reason to have a violation. But since it's hard, you don't want to address specific problems, but that seems to be one of the problems that's been complained of, is that turning the sound up and nobody's home. So,
I have a couple of comments on this, and you're probably way ahead of me. My first comment is that whatever revisions you propose to us, I would ask that you work in conjunction with the police department
certainly.
because they're the ones out there that are getting these calls and are, right now, it's very frustrating for them because we've given them a job to do and we've not given them an ordinance to do it with. So we've got them in a really bad position. And two is that also to address the enforcement of this. I do not, just my opinion, I would hope that this is not a notice of violation to come before the code board for them to wrestle with this, because that you're just asking too much. And you're asking the police to come and testify to the code board, you're asking code board volunteers to try to figure out legal standards, and there's too much to ask the code board to do. It needs to
This
go to
would be
court.
one of the ones that would go to the county court.
It needs to be an NTA, a notice to appear, for people to go to a real judge or in a real court. And there's a penalty right then. There's a $500 fine, boom. Not, and how did, the code board doesn't even have the tools to penalize these people. $10 a day until it stopped. Well, it happened 3 months ago. So, that's not the right venue. So, other discussion?
Yeah, I have a
Council?
comment.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
The problem now is that the offending neighbor knows that she can play music as loud as she wants until 10 o'clock, and it goes off at 10 o'clock. And it is heart-stopping
Well,
loud.
that's what we're trying to fix.
Yeah, this would
Right,
be-
but what
this
she
also
said was,
the plainly audible standard.
Yeah.
And that's what I think St. Petersburg includes, a plainly audible standard. So if the sound is plainly audible, I think they've got one that was 25 feet from,
you're not tying a time to that.
no, that, oh, well, yes, they have 25 feet or more from the building that is the source of the sound between, they have 11 p.m. and 8 a.m. But,
That's the problem.
well,
Is between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m., it's do as you wish.
no, but if it's plainly audible, 25 feet away, if I can hear the words of the song
At
and I'm
noon?
only 25 feet away,
At noon.
you're in violation.
Okay, we need to get down to
Yeah, no,
brass
but I wanna make
weeds here
sure
about
that-
what it's gonna say.
Well,
But I mean, that would take care of the problem that they can play the music, but they can't just turn it up full blast during that time frame.
Councilmember Chambers.
Thank you, sir. While we're talking to people like the police, I'd also hope that staff talks to leisure services to see if that would impact any of their rentals on Friday and Saturday nights. The country club that have events outside on Friday and Saturday nights, and at Woodmont Clubhouse that have events too that may violate that. So they need to be brought into the mix, please.
Okay.
And the only other comment I would make that I thought of after I talked, sorry about that, is to, please try to keep it simple. I know some things may vary by times and dates, but the more complicated we make this, the harder we make it for the police, and the harder we make it for the neighbors to try to explain to them, well, it's Tuesday, and so please, the more standardized and simplified we can make it, the better, so.
I mean, a lot of cities use decibel levels, and we were thinking about not going in that direction right now. That does require a little meter. They have a handheld meter to measure decibels. That's a little bit more complicated. Here, initially it was hard, what's 25 feet away from the building? Then you've got to get the tape measure out. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. Now you can just shoot they've got a little laser measuring device, and all you do is shoot the building, and you know how far away it is.
So you're just informally looking for conversation tonight. You're already working to revise it.
I haven't revised it at all yet. I was just looking at ours, looking at others to see what they have that makes it a little more enforceable than what we have. And ours is, as Councilwoman Donahue said, it's pretty wide open right now. You can blast it. I mean, unless you're able to prove that it's unreasonably loud or raucous.
I think we'd all like that to come before us sooner than later, because right now we have a problem. And there's a lot of people in the community that are suffering as a result of this problem. So unlike some of our ordinance revisions, this one's a little
Fast track.
time sensitive. Yes,
If I may, yeah, my big question was, is our current problem still going on? Obviously it is.
Yeah.
I've gone by several times, I haven't caught them doing it, but, we need to do something. We need to do something relatively quickly, but, I do like the 25 foot away, and that covers all day long. And then at 10 o'clock it shuts off, then that's okay. I think we should go forward with it.
I mean, I was surprised to see that Tampa had that you can't have any, it says, it shall be unlawful for any person to permit, cause, allow, create, emit, or sustain amplified sound in or from the outdoor area of any property within the city of Tampa after midnight. So there could be no outside, because people set up the speakers outside by their pool or wherever outside, and it's like nothing after midnight on any property. So I thought that was interesting.
Careful, because we do have venues, events, we have places that, nice time of year, they have outdoor music and things. So, we have to be.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, we gotta keep it reasonable too. We can't shut the whole city down and,
Right.
I mean.
No, the neighbors aren't looking for that.
Yeah, I know. So you're good.
Okay.
Thank you for that update.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Mr. Stevenson, anything else? Council members, anything else? If not, we'll be adjourned.
You got nothing?